What do you think of when you imagine an iconic BMW? E30 M3, Z3M clown shoe? Compelling options, but I'm here to pitch a new contender. Chris Bangle's E63 6 Series. Right, today's a good day because we're rolling through lovely leafy West London in a BMW E63, not Mercedes, 650i, and with it being a 50i, it's got the 4.8 N62 360 horsepower V8 engine, and it's just stunning. So obviously going to talk you through what this car is like to drive, but because of the use case of this car, we're going to start it off in London because this is a BMW, it's got 360 horsepower, it's very athletic, but it's also stunning to drive around town. And first things first, it's so costing in here. So standard, loud, bustling city, shut the window, got the pan glass roof here, and it's so quiet in here, it's so unbelievably refined. Let's start off with why this is such a good town car. First off, it's extremely comfortable. Even just getting into it, say you're doing a day where you're running loads of errands, you're getting into and out of your car, you've got this nice big door, comfy seat, the distance between the seat base and the steering wheel and the pedals means you just slip right in. Whereas on my E46, which I love, it's a great town car, you have to kind of squeeze yourself in every time, and it's really annoying, especially if you've got a bag. Then you've got this amazing steering, which is super light around town, not sickly light, not like a Fiat Punto with the city button press, but light enough that you can just whiz it around one-handed. That's great. On top of that, we've got a silky smooth ZF 6-speed automatic gearbox in this. It's such a good blend of responsiveness and smoothness around town. It picks up really nicely. You lift off the brake, it gently starts moving off. It's in second most of the time, which you've got enough torque to deal with. That's great. It's quiet, but you get a bit of V8 woof, which is really nice. It means you don't really get annoyed at sticking to 20 miles an hour in this. It's full of character, and it's a joy to drive at any speed, which is really, really rare. The only other car I've had that in that we've tested on shooting brake is a CLK 500, and this is a much more athletic car than that. So it's a really nice blend of all these things that make it such a good daily driver, in my opinion. We don't normally talk about styling too much on shooting brake. It's a subjective thing. Everyone's different. I love the E63 6 Series. I think it's a fantastic looking car. I've loved it since day dot. I know that people found Chris Bangle's design language a bit controversial when it came out. I think these cars have aged beautifully. They stand up to the test of time. I love the low set headlights. I love the controversial boot lid. I love the LED taillights on the LCI versions like this. I love the general shape of the car, how long and low it is. It's got a little bit of Aston Martin in it. I just think it's brilliant. I honestly do. It's like a baby version of an Aston Martin, a Bentley Continental. I mean, that already is brilliant. But it's got that kind of Germanic Teutonicness to it that's just so BMW. It's so obviously BMW, yet so obviously something a bit different. That is exactly what you want from a 6 Series. It loses the shark nose, but it takes on a shark-like overall presence, which is just brilliant with that that very distinctive boot lid, especially in a grey colour like this. Oh, I just love it. I just absolutely love it. And beyond that, this generation BMW, the E63, the E60, the E90, E82, etc., they are very engineering-led cars. As a result, this generation of BMW is very, very light and has loads of really nice things that are driver-focused that were actually lost in later cars. The V8 version of the E63 weighs about 1,700 kilos. That sounds heavy, but we've got a big, big GT here. I think most people would assume this would weigh about 2 tons. The later 6 Series actually weighed about 2 tons. But this generation has loads of aluminium in it. It's got a bit of plastic in the bodywork. It's got some magnesium with the engine bits. There's loads of money and engineering focus put into the weight and how these things go down the road. This V8 is incredible. I mean, just listen to that. You don't need to be going quick. You just need to accelerate off from the lights and you hear this incredible V8 woof that BMW do so well. It's a very refined, very distinctive noise, and it's just pure bass and pure smoothness, and it's as if it's talking to you through one of these dead cats on this mic here. And the thing with a V8 in town is that it means that you can have fun even doing 20 miles an hour because you just hear that rumble underneath you. It makes driving slowly feel satisfying in its own way, which I think is great. This is a car that rewards smoothness, it rewards relaxation, and that's what you want from a town car. You don't just want it to be good at being a daily, but you want it to like being a daily, and that's what this does so well. These V8s, they're pretty manic when you get on it, and I'll show you that later on, but round town they've got this incredible relaxed character that just puts you at ease after a long day. On top of that, let's talk about the size for a second. It's a fairly big car, but it's not massive. So we've got 4 decent seats. We've got a nice big boot, which is very much helped by that funny design language of the boot sticking out past the headlights. But it's not so big that it's annoying to park. We've done a few cheeky 3-point turns here today, and it's perfectly doable. It's got a good amount of steering lock. It makes it a very practical car. It's not a car you'd worry about parking around town if you need to. But it's big enough to have presence. People don't cut you up when you're driving an E63 6 Series. It's got that road presence. It's got that width to it. It's got that length to it. And it's just, that size also means it's so comfortable. It's got a nice long wheelbase over speed bumps. As a day-to-day proposition, honestly, it's hard to beat. In the winter, it's cold, it's rainy, but you still want natural light, you still want your vitamin D. You've got a lovely glass roof here. It doesn't add any NVH, which is great, but it adds so much natural light. It makes it such a nice place to be. Sometimes setting the camera up for filming these videos can be quite difficult in modern cars because they're very, very dark. No such issues in here. We've got loads of natural light. And it's like being in a conservatory, honestly. It's fantastic. Right, I'm going to tell you what this car is like to drive on better roads. We're going to cut to our usual test route in a moment. Okay, next thing is driving position. This was when BMW were really coming into their own when it came to driving position. Some of the 90s cars were a bit flawed when it came to that. The E36, the steering was here, the pedals were there, you kind of felt like that. By the time they got to the kind of mid-2000s cars like the E60, E63, E90, they got the driving position bang on. So I'm sitting dead center steering wheel, my legs are flat to the pedals, I've got endless adjustability with this electronic steering column. It can come right out to my chest, which is really where I want it to be. And the visibility is great. This generation of BMW, the A-pillars aren't so thick that you can't see what's coming, which is brilliant. I've got a nice low windscreen, very supercar rest. The windscreen goes all the way down there. It's kind of lower chest height, which is just brilliant. And great windows for visibility. That makes it a very easy car to push on when it comes to country lanes, overtaking, pulling out junctions, etc., etc. That makes it super usable. The one criticism, well actually 2 criticisms I have are instruments and mirrors. I find the mirrors quite small for this size of car. I think styling wise they could have got away with much bigger mirrors, and you do kind of have to do this to make sure that no one's beside you in your blind spot. Got quite a big C-pillar there that can hide quite large cars, so you've got to make sure that you're always checking your blind spot. And I find the instrumentation on this generation of BMW to be probably the least clear of all the kind of physical gauged BMWs. The 90s and early 2000s cars had super clear instrumentation, and the cars that came after this had things like HUD and digital speed readouts. This kind of awkward in between phase where you've got quite small text. You've got to look at the speed quite a lot in this car because it really hides the speed quite well, which is a real compliment. But as a result, you do need to kind of pay attention to speedometer and just take a second to register where it's at. Having spent some time on the E60 platform, we do get used to it, but still, it's just one of those things. Other than that, I can't think of many flaws. Obviously, the iDrive is a bit dated, but you can get Apple CarPlay put into these quite easily, and the screen is a really nice location. It's got this lovely cowling on top of it, which the later cars lost. They had that kind of iPod on the dash feel, which I don't really like. I think the interior in this is absolutely stunning. I love it. It's got this real feeling of being designed, which BMW's never had. BMW's always had quite lovely but utilitarian feeling interiors. This is an interior that feels designed. It feels just, I don't know, like some sort of designer handbag or something. It's just, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's Chris Bangle at his best. I see him as this visionary that changed BMW for the better, honestly, because I just don't think they would have survived with the conservative design language they had from the early 2000s. As much as I did love it, I just think this was an excellent representation of what the 2000s meant for cars and for culture and architecture and just everything. It's just so good, it's so evocative, it's almost retro now in this amazing, lovely way. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about the stuff you really care about, like chassis, brakes, steering feel, etc., etc. So, chassis in this is classic BMW. It's super balanced, it's super readable, it feels 50-50, it feels rear-wheel drive. We don't have an LSD in this, you don't really miss it because of the use case of the 650i as being this usable daily GT, and we've got great traction anyway. It initially feels a bit aloof on turn-in, which you kind of want in a car like this. You don't want to be kind of overrun by feedback like you would be in something like a 996. It's not that kind of car. But when you need to lean on it, when you need to rely on it, when you load it up, it's really, really good. It's very communicative. You've got incredible turn-in, like ample turn-in, way more than you think you'd have in a car like this. And the more you push it, the more confidence inspiring it gets. So on fast sweepers, it's a bit aloof, you kind of need to trust it. And then on the tighter corners, lean on the brakes, get it tucked in. That is just brilliant. That is so good. Brakes are fantastic. Get so much pedal. That's the benefit of using the single sliding caliper brakes, is that yes, you get less fade resistance, but you get a huge amount more pedal feel, which makes it super confident inspiring. This isn't a car that you can be pounding into corners using all the brakes, braking super late into apex constantly. You might do it a couple times. These brakes are more than good enough for that purpose. They're quiet, they're fuss-free, readable, they're communicative. Okay, so that's the general breakdown of how this car feels when you're pushing on. The real joy to be had though is when you're just cruising along, you're listening to that V8 bellow. It's got this gorgeous, deep, bassy woofle to it that sounds so expensive. It sounds so luxurious. It reminds me of the W12 noise from the Bentley Continental GT. It's such a rich noise, and it just gives this car this expensive feel to it that has not been lost by time at all. This to me feels like a 20-30 grand car now, and it feels all of these 60-70 grand that would have cost when it was new. I mean, that's what a special thing to get into after a long day at work. Honestly, it's just so great. When it comes to use case, this is a fantastic daily, and it's a great daily whether you live out in the countryside or whether you live around town, or ideally if you've got a mixed commute, you do a bit of everything, because obviously it's brilliant on the motorway. The engine is all things to all people, is absolutely fantastic, and it gets decent MPG. We're getting about 23 miles per gallon in this, which, considering this is a 4.8 litre V8, is really quite impressive. And the calibration of this gearbox makes it so nice to just cruise about in. It's always in the right gear. It never gets caught out. It doesn't do that hesitation that you sometimes get coming out of junctions in modern cars. More than anything, if you're like me and you love 90s and early 2000 BMWs, E39 540i's, E38s, E46s, this is a genuine step up. It retains the character of those cars. It retains a strong sense of nostalgia for a specific era. And it just adds to every single driving aspect. It just adds to it and improves it. There is no loss. Jumping from an E46 330i, which is what I was driving around in today, to this, there is absolutely zero loss in character, in feel, in performance, in usability, in comfort, nothing. It's a tangible improvement in every single way, and that is a really, really compelling thing to have. That's a story to be told. The fact is that these cars, they're an unseen modern classic. They're honestly, they're an uncut gem. It's just brilliant, and they look so good. They're so special. If you're into 90s BMWs, you have to buy one of these. You have to try one. This or a 550 or even an E63 330, but really I think the E63 is peak Bangle. It's his statement piece. You know, it's the crown jewel of his range. I really do think that it's the wildest expression of everything that he wanted in a car. There's so much detail to the design of this car. There's a swage line that flips in and out as it comes down to the bonnet into the headlights, and then you've got the fact the headlights are slightly recessed in. You've got the sculpted piece around it. It's such a three-dimensional design that needs to be seen to be believed. You've got all of this flame surfacing that you didn't get on the older cars. You kind of lost that tension on the new cars. They got a little bit flabbier. I love the F Series, 6 Series, but it's a very different proposition to this. And I've always said the best cars, the best looking cars, the best designs are really evocative of nature, of animals, or of trees, or of even buildings and architecture. This, to me, it looks like a shark. It carries that shark, rakish energy that the E24 had, which is one of the best looking videos ever, and it carried it into the 21st century. That's so special. I think that's fantastic. On top of that, you've got 4 usable seats and a big boot. This is a car that you can drive from London to Monaco, no stress, and you'll enjoy it as well. And you'll enjoy having the pan roof. You'll enjoy having that torquey, lovely engine. You'll enjoy revving this out all the way to 6.5K. And on the twisties that you get through Normandy and through the south of France, it's a genuinely enjoyable, characterful steer. What a car. And it's live now on shootingbrake.com for auction. It's up on bids. It's in fantastic condition. It's on 87,000 miles. It's been well taken care of. It's got 4 brand new Michelin Pilot Sport 4s. What a buy. This is going to be one of those cars that just sticks with me in the same way that the E60 M5, Circa 500, those cars, they're just so unexpected. No one's talking about the E63 650. No one is talking about this car, and it's just so fantastic. Honestly, this is a car that you should consider if you're in the market for just a daily. If you're in the market for, I don't know, a Golf R, a newish Audi A5, a newer BMW, an older BMW, an E39, you have to consider one of these. And as an ownership proposition, they're really, really great. They don't have bodywork issues, they don't rust, they don't have weird interior issues, the buttons don't fall out like they do in an E39. You know, I love the E39, don't get me wrong, but they're getting on a bit now. They're a bit of a classic, and they're well worth buying for that. But if you want a usable, characterful, fast, great-looking BMW, which in some ways is just the ultimate daily driver, this makes a great case for that. It really, really does. And it could be yours with a click of a button on shootingbreak.com, the auction platform for car enthusiasts.
Whether or not you'll like this 650i all depends on your outlook on cars. If you're looking for a cheaper alternative to an E46 M3 or a Porsche 911, don't be fooled by the 363 horsepower V8. The curb rate and incredible refinement of the 650i will leave you wanting. If, however, you're looking for a car, the car to end all cars, a car to live with, to stare at, to get home in, to get away in, a car to live your life in, this is surely it. This plays the same cards as the Bentley Continental or an Aston DB9, but with genuine usability and reasonable running costs. It's a statement piece, something to be seen in and associated with. It's entertaining enough on the twisties and carries a deep, luxurious level of mechanical joy at all times. It's a true representation of what the 6 means to BMW, and it's absolutely brilliant. This one's live on shootingbreak.com. It's had all the big jobs done, including valve stem steels, and it could be yours with a click of a button. Choose wisely.